Hello and welcome to Victoriana. It's the beginning of July. June has been absolutely awful. We've basically had one reasonable week of good weather. The rest of the time it's been very cold. It's also been very, very windy. I think that's been a big problem with June, has been the wind. And we've also had some atrocious rain showers as well. Going back to the cold, as I say, it has been that cold that even at home we've had several fires in the evening. And we've recorded temperatures, outside temperatures here at the nursery as low as 6 Celsius, which in June is ridiculous. So here we are, beginning of July. Thankfully the light has improved now, so we're seeing some good growth on the tomatoes. It is quite scary though that it's only 3-4 weeks until our tomato day, and currently we've got 3 tomatoes that are ripe. So we've got some good growth now, we've got some excellent fruit set. But we are behind, and it's because of those temperatures and the low light levels that we have had. But we've stripped off a lot of the bottom foliage now, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll see the tomatoes ripening up and they'll be ready for the 28th of July, which is our tomato day. We'd love to see you all along for that. We'll be tasting all the tomatoes that are ripe. So literally you'll be able to choose the varieties you like. We're adding 1 or 2 to our listings for next year, and what people decide they like will be the ones that we'll actually add. So yeah, no, we're really pleased with what's going on in here, apart from the actual colouring up of the fruit. The chilies are doing well, we're eating lots and lots of cucumbers, but as I say, the weather that we've had has really hampered us outside, and so I'll give you a quick run round of what we've just about managed in June. So here in the top house we're sort of half tidy. Obviously we've had the benefit, if that's the right word to use, of an awful lot of wet weather. So we've had time to come in here and block up and move things around. But obviously the wet and the cold has also meant that we've decided to keep some crops in longer than we would. So we've got a lot more herbs in here than we'd normally expect. We've also done some potting up, got some of our grape cuttings potted up, which is a good thing to have got done already. The strawberries that were in the veg tunnel, we actually decided to move outside at the beginning of June, but they weren't coming on because of the temperature, so they've gone way over there, and it's nice to see that we're actually seeing some fruit on those now. So the protected space really is working on those. And then if I whiz right round, excuse the speed, over here we've got some sweet corn that once again that was in the tunnel, but we hadn't got the space. Now we need the space for the tomatoes. That's coming on very well, as are the overflow tomatoes and the overflow chilies, and thankfully we also did quite a lot of squashes into containers. As I said, our squashes outside on the veg garden, a lot of them have been blown away and snapped off and just aren't doing anything, so it's nice that we've got 1 or 2 pumpkins and squashes in here. Courgettes are doing well, and we've also got some marrows coming along, so all in all good things happening there. Bush tomatoes are going mad, we're happy with those. And behind over there you can see the white tents. They're the white tents of the chilies that we're saving the seed from. So the various chili varieties have gone into their individual tents, so that stops them having any fun cross-pollinating. And yeah, no, this is a year really where protected growing space is a real boon. So we're pleased that we've got the space, and we're pleased that we've got so much in here and keeping us going and keeping things going as we want really. So yeah, we're quite happy up here. So outside, the weather continues to hamper us. The cold weather has meant that things like the chrysanthemums here in the flower garden are behind. We actually reckon we're probably about 3 weeks behind now on these, and haven't really started raising the frames too high on them. The other big problem is literally everything keeps on blowing over. Fruit trees we've started to prune now, mainly because they were just getting too top heavy. I'm about halfway through. And actually on the shrub beds themselves the picture is even worse, because we sort of end up with having to have a stand up in the morning, try and get some water on the stuff if we haven't had the rain, and then half an hour later it's all blown over. So it's not the easiest year out here, it's not the easiest year for growing at all really, so we're persevering, I think is the word to use. Up here on the vegetable garden, despite the weather, we're quite pleased with where we are, I think really. The brassica cage is coming along well. The sweet corn is holding up well and is actually colouring now, which is nice to see, despite the lower temperatures. Unfortunately, the peas, the climbing peas, we've had to replant because the first lot just literally sat there and went backwards with all the cold and the wet and the yuck, so they're hopefully going to pick up this time round. It's nice to see some artichokes, so we've got some crops there. We've put some other peas in and they're doing quite well. It's strange that some things have done quite well, so for instance the asparagus actually rushed away from us this year. Whereas other things just have been very, very slow, but I think that really is the year. The potatoes aren't doing that well, not that fantastically. They were in late and they have put on some growth, but once again now they seem to have stopped. Up in the soft fruit cage there, or cage that will be, I'm quite pleased. We've got good fruit set, and despite the fact we haven't still got round to putting up our decent supports, we're happy with what's going on there for the time being. So no, all in all really, Brian's had a good month. And has had time to pull it all together in between the showers and without being blown away. So we're really quite pleased. The only thing I guess we are disappointed with out here is all the pumpkins and squashes that we planted along the back headland. That most of those have been blown out of the ground and snapped off, so it hasn't been a good one there. The other issue I suppose we've also had is putting up with the pigeons. We've had many pigeons this year. We usually net for pigeons and bits and pieces, but we've never had things like having broad bean plants pulled out of the ground by the pigeons, which we've had this year, so that's made it a difficult one in that regard. So for our bees, this hasn't been a great month. We're currently queenless in both of our hives. We've had 2 swarms, which is quite normal and natural and apparently very good according to our beekeeper. But unfortunately, because of the continued cold weather and particularly the high winds, the queens that are in there or in the hatching pods, I don't really know too much about it, haven't actually had a chance to establish and turn themselves into proper queens. So not a good month up here. We're currently keeping away as much as we can because one of the hives is quite grumpy about being queenless, so we're not spending too much time too close to them at the moment. So here in the cell area, we're pretty much as we'd expect to be. Lots and lots of perennial plants, which we're currently dispatching. 1 or 2 veg plants. We're still doing beans because of the lateness of the season, and we're still doing 1 or 2 of the other veg because of the lateness of the season. But one issue that we have had this year is here in our veg cage, in our cell cage that we have out here, the pigeons have discovered that if they sit on it, enough of them, they can actually squash the netting down, and so we've lost quite a lot of brassicas this year. So we've had some good crops of brassica plants ready to dispatch out. 2 days later the pigeons have nibbled them to nothing basically. So we've currently had to stop brassica sales because we haven't got any, or haven't got any that are decent enough. We've been on to our friends at First Tunnels, and we're going to have a nice new small mini tunnel that we will net, and then hopefully that will be end of the problem there. But we've used this technique for 5 years now, and it's only this year that the pigeons have actually managed to work out to squash themselves onto it and squash it down. So yeah, we're not particularly happy out here either. It's really a bit of doom and gloom, I guess. So that's it for the beginning of July really, and as I've said, it's been a month, or should I say it's actually been a season of struggling against the pests and struggling against the weather. But all in all, we're not looking too bad. We look forward to July, we look forward to the weather hopefully improving and the winds dropping. And all I can say to all of you gardening at home is don't give up. Things will come right in the end. It just might be quite a late season this year. And we look forward to seeing you on Tomato Day.